Hello, you beautiful people. So, I know most of you guys here are really hyped for Castorice or Anaxa, and you probably want to know if their kits are good or bad and whether these units are worth pulling for your account, right? Luckily for you though, you've somehow landed on the perfect video to get the answer to that question. I know it might be a really tough choice for some people because both of these characters look really good and they also have a pretty good kit. I mean, one of these units fundamentally breaks the game by having some of the highest damage output that we've ever seen, and on top of that, this unit also scales differently compared to most of the other top DPSs, which allows her to make use of characters that don't get used as much anymore. Now, the other unit in this patch is a unit who excels in all three game modes, but also has an insane amount of utility and great personal damage to match. I have to say, I think it's extremely hard to decide who to pull for, so in this video, I plan to try and help answer this question of yours by going over both Castorice and Anaxa in full detail to potentially help you figure out which unit is more worth it for you, because both of them have insanely good animations and gameplay, but I'll do my best to break it down. With that being said, let's begin without wasting any more of your time or energy. Before we go on though, if you're planning to pull for any of the new characters, you might want to check out Lubar because on this site you can save up to a total of 23% on all your purchases. To give an example, I'll buy this 3280 Oniric Shard pack for $43, and this same pack costs me about $50 from the in-game shop. You can see that it's cheaper, right? The top-up process is honestly really easy as well because all you need to do is enter your UID in this box and choose your respective server depending on your account. After waiting for a few minutes, I received my Jades with the double top-up bonus because it was my first purchase and saved a decent amount of money. Other than HSR, you can top up on Genshin as well using Lubar, and both of these games have quite a lot of 5-star reviews. Lastly, if you use my link which is in the description or the pinned comment, you can get an extra 8% off on top of all the other discounts. Alright, starting with Castorice, I honestly feel like her own and her dragon's animations have already persuaded a lot of people to pull for her, me included. But she genuinely has so much more going on for her kit without even factoring in her animations. First of all, we all know that Castorice is a quantum-type remembrance DPS who plays around draining the entire team's HP to enhance her dragons or her Memosprite's damage, and I think she is definitely the first unit for her kind, where her dragon feels more like a fifth character on the field rather than just a plain summon or even a normal Memosprite like Aglaya's Garment Maker. Her playstyle is definitely really interesting, and if you are somewhat concerned about her damage, I don't think you need to worry at all because she quite literally has one of the highest damage outputs in the entire game. There's a major drawback to her kit though because as I mentioned before, Castorice drains the HP from your entire team, and I know some of you might be taking this HP drain lightly, but well, just for a comparison, she drains 10 times the amount of HP that Jinglu drains. I think now you probably know that you shouldn't take her HP drain lightly, right? This basically means that while playing Castorice, your entire team is essentially being used as a sacrifice to charge her Memosprite. Don't worry though, she has some inbuilt mechanics in her kit to keep your team safe. First of all, I think most of you guys already know about her unique passive ability, but if someone still doesn't know, Castorice pretty much provides a one-time use revive that extends to your whole account, including when she isn't even present on the field. This means that if a character's HP drops down to 0, Castorice will provide a revive to this character even if she isn't present on the team at the current moment. It's obvious why this passive ability is kind of broken and really controversial, right? I mean, talk about being predatory. We all know that Castorice is probably going to make them a lot of money, but giving a unique global passive to a particular character isn't really fair. At the end of the day though, if you've already decided to pull for Castorice, this probably shouldn't matter too much as it's a really powerful passive. Next up, whenever her dragon is on the field, it quite literally makes your team immortal by absorbing all the fatal damage, and this dragon gets healed whenever Castorice drains the HP from your team, so keeping it alive is also really easy. Basically, you can think of her dragon as some sort of a special health bar, but do keep in mind that her dragon explodes after taking a total of 3 turns, so it doesn't last forever. This is the part though where her main synergy comes in, as overhealing alongside the usual HP drain is the best way to keep her dragon's uptime consistent. Which just means that Castorice has great synergy with healers, and especially the ones with a really strong healing output like Gallagher, Luocha, or even Lingsha. I would say the slightly weaker healers also work with her, maybe not as well, but they get the job done fine. So Castorice pretty much has a wide selection of characters that she synergizes with, and we haven't even talked about her support pool yet. Honestly, Castorice makes use of basically all the non-attack buffing supports in the game, as she just prefers any buffs at all, but preferably, she is best used in a Tribi, RMC, or a Sunday-based team. Just want to mention, other units like Ruan Mei and even generalist supports like Jiaoqiu and Sparkle work okay with her as well. Now, besides team options, she pretty much excels in all the 3 endgame modes with her amazing damage, making her great in Memory of Chaos, as she is good against most of the bosses in the game, especially in this AoE-focused meta. Speaking of her AoE, I would definitely advise you to not take it lightly, because Castorice will also be an insane unit for pure fiction, as both her enhanced skill and her dragon's attack deals an insane amount of AoE damage. Finally, her toughness damage is also surprisingly high, and even though she doesn't have colorless break like Acheron, she will be great in Apocalyptic Shadow as well. Honestly, I think her main weakness right now is that she doesn't have that many good light cone options, but she is relatively strong with her free options. All in all, I believe that Castorice is definitely one of the strongest DPS in the game right now, and she will only get stronger with a couple of buffs in the beta and overall. I would recommend pulling her heavily to anyone looking for a great damage dealer. Anyways, moving on to Anaxa, he is quite different as compared to Castorice because he mainly functions as more of a sub-DPS unit, who also provides a bunch of utility like applying weaknesses to enemies, having an action delay on his ultimate, and buffing your Erudition teammates to deal more damage. Honestly, Anaxa is that one character who just does it all, and you can pretty much say that he is a jack of all trades. His enhanced skill is basically his main source of damage, and to trigger it, he just needs to use his normal skill on an enemy who has all the 7 weaknesses applied onto it, and I know that sounds kind of absurd at first. But it's actually really easy for Anaxa because he can implant weaknesses just by using his basic abilities. Now, after using his skill on a target with all the 7 weaknesses, his enhanced skill automatically gets triggered, costing 0 skill points. Honestly though, the best part about his enhanced skill is that it can be triggered even if you use his basic on a target with all the weaknesses, which allows him to generate some skill points while also outputting a pretty good amount of damage for how little of an investment he needs. I have to say, his utility is as good as his damage output can be, as he can definitely fulfill the role of a support, and honestly, his utility is really high for a sub-DPS, and he reminds of Hunt March 7th in a way, as he can fulfill both roles really well. Basically, his main DPS teams are really decent and work well in both single-target and AoE scenarios, with him excelling exceptionally well in the pure fiction game mode for his AoE capabilities, and his weakness implant makes him one of the best Apocalyptic Shadow characters. I mean, he can pretty much be used universally across all teams and all scenarios due to his weakness implant, which I can't even stress how good that is, but I would definitely say that his MOC performance isn't anywhere close to being weak either. Finally, for those interested in getting for the Herta, he's really great in her teams as he fulfills every one role that the Herta wants at E0, being marginally better than other erudition options. Honestly, his stack generation, personal damage, and his skill point positive nature makes him an almost must-pull unit for the Herta teams. Overall, Anaxa is a really strong character who has potential to be tier 0 in all the 3 game modes, but I would definitely say that he needs some buffs to achieve that. All in all, both of these characters are really insane, with both of them having really high value for your account. Firstly, Castorice can serve as your main carry, being able to single-handedly drag out through difficult content with her high damage output, flexible teams, and great future scaling, especially with characters like Hyacinth specifically made to make her better. On the other hand, Anaxa is already a really high-value unit due to him being a sub-DPS, and an extremely good one at that. If I was to pick one unit, I would probably go with Castorice, because with the increasing HP inflation in Memory of Chaos, it remains the hardest mode, and Castorice makes easy work of it. If you already have a lot of great DPSs on your account though, then I would say Anaxa might be a great option for you, and I would totally recommend him for any newer accounts as well. However, the real answer here is to just give in to your temptations, and get both, and perhaps sell your other belongings to afford it. Anyways, I hope this video helped you on deciding who you should pull for, but if I'm being honest, making this video just made me want both of these units more. Also, if you made it until the end, thanks, and you might want to consider subscribing as well. With that being said, I will see you in another one.